Hello there, welcome to saberduelgaming, where we always take the high ground, and welcome to the RetroSaber Podcast. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, but I have returned to try and fit one more in before the end of the year, and I'm not picking a particular topic. Instead, I put out a post asking if anyone had any questions, so I'm going to answer those as best I can. And then I'm going to follow that up with talking about a little bit of news about what you can expect from saberduelgaming in 2025. So feel free to continue to check this out, or if none of that sounds interesting to you, I hope to see you in the next video. But if you've stuck around, let's get going with this. So, Actually Gaming Guy asks, what game do you play that was fun back then but boring the more you played it? This is an interesting question because I think it's one thing to say what was a fun game back then, but now you go back to it, it's not as good. Maybe it doesn't stand the test of time. But to say a game that's actually boring now when you play it, I think this could still apply to a lot of older retro games. As much as retro gaming fans, we like to think, no, these games are classics, they stand the test of time, blah, blah, blah. Reality is some of them really didn't, and they probably weren't that great even back then. I think the Nintendo Game Boy has a few of those, and I'm particularly thinking about some of the puzzlers. I'm not thinking about the all-time classics like Tetris, but games such as, for me personally, Dr. Mario, and most notably Alleyway, which I recently did a review of, is the kind of game that I think when we first played them, we probably thought, oh, this is really cool. And because of the novelty of having that handheld console, enjoyed it quite a bit, but very quickly realised this is repetitive and boring dross. And I went back and played that game recently, and yeah, I literally only played it long enough to get footage for the review, as I was bored stiff. Muppet Features ask, which is your favourite ever console? Great question again. My favourite ever console, I think, is the Nintendo 64. The Nintendo 64 was probably the biggest graphical leap between consoles I'd ever seen. The leap from the 16-bit SNES up to the Nintendo 64 was mind-blowing. I don't think any console graphical change has ever matched that, before or since. But regardless of that, the Nintendo 64 had some of the all-time best ever games, potentially one of the best shoot-'em-ups of all time, GoldenEye 007, potentially the greatest wrestling game of all time, WWF No Mercy, and three more at least before it, which are absolute brilliant classics as well. You've got games like Super Mario 64, potentially the best 3D platform game ever made, Wave Race, Mario Kart 64, Turok Dinosaur Hunter. I'm not even mentioning a ton of other classics, Lylat Wars, otherwise known as Star Fox 64. Just so many absolutely amazing games. Plus the console was quirky looking. It was the first console that I was aware of anyway to have ports for 4 controllers so you could have more people playing. It was just an absolute classic console. Retro Crisis, all-time legend by the way, says video game purchases you regret. First one that stands out to me right now is WWE 2K20. I'm a big fan of wrestling games, you can obviously tell that from my channel, but this was actually the first time ever that I had pre-ordered a game. I had prepaid for all the bonus content. I was so excited for it. And when it arrived, first of all, none of the pre-order content was available. Once you loaded it up, all the pre-order bonus content wasn't available for a good month or so later, which absolutely felt like robbery. But what made it worse was the game was a glitch-filled disaster. You couldn't have a match. You couldn't create a character without something glitching out eyeballs appearing on the outside of the head, hair moving inside the skull. Stuff of genuine nightmares. Feel free, go on Google Images and type in WWE 2K20 horror glitches and just see some of the pictures that come up. They are terrifying. It wasn't just the regret that I had the game. It was the regret that I'd gone in for this pre-order, paid a ton more than I normally would, bought all this additional bonus content in advance when I didn't have much money, by the way, and I still didn't get it. It was just an absolute scam to me, and I felt genuinely robbed. One other gaming purchase that I regret and refused to admit to myself was the fact that I got Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat, on the Game Boy. This was a mess of a game. The port just didn't work. There was at least, I think, one character missing, but the range of moves was dire. The controls were painful, but I just refused to accept. I convinced myself it was so good. And the fact that I had it, I made myself play it so much, and it was a nightmare to play. But as a young kid, I just refused to accept that. I just wish I'd never bought it. So that one, quite frankly, is also a big regret. Hardly Quinn asks, any video games or accessories on your Christmas list? Well, yes, I have thrown a few out there, though I'm not expecting to get all of them. I just tend to throw a few out there, so I'm not sure what to get. I have put on for a new headset because the padding around the earpieces on my headset are falling apart, so they always end up stuck, little bits of the black padding in my hair. It's quite grim looking. So a new headset is on there. There was also recently released a collection of retro Jurassic Park games. So I'd put that on my Christmas list as well. But there's bound to be a few other games out there that I'm interested in as well. They're the main ones that come to mind. I think there was also the Capcom collection, the Marvel vs. Capcom collection, or Marvel vs. Street Fighter collection. Can't remember what it's called now. That one is also potentially on the list too. Not really any sort of super new modern games, but then, hey, I'm a retro gamer, what do you expect? PJ Venom says, and boy, he's hit me with a few here, so bear with me. What 3 hobbies would you enjoy outside of gaming? So I'll answer that one first. I suppose the first one would be Lego. I'm a huge collector of Lego. I build Lego. I actually have a TikTok account called Saberduel Bricks, where I randomly review Lego sets, do unboxings of Lego sets, just random stuff. I've even done occasional streams of me building, doing repairs, or just cleaning up Lego sets. You'd be amazed how many people swoop in on some ASMR of me just brushing dust off Lego. So that's at least one thing, is collecting and building Lego. I am actually really quite interested in writing as well, believe it or not. It's a bit of a weird one, but I have written a few random little stories and bits like that. So I do like writing, a little bit of creativity there. And the other one would be, I suppose, wrestling. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I don't know if you can call that a hobby. It's something I watch. It's something I read about. Obviously, you see a bit of wrestling on my channel, but I have actually considered doing either a separate channel or separate podcasts on the channel just about wrestling, because I'm a huge wrestling fan. If that one doesn't count, let's throw in dinosaurs, ancient Egypt, all that kind of stuff, because I've got a massive obsession with those two. PJ Venom also asks, and 3 of your favourite video game protagonists and 3 antagonists, and why? For those that don't know what that means, it kind of means the good guys and the bad guys, the characters you play as, and the people their sort of rivalry is with. So let's start with the good guys, the heroes, the protagonists. I would have to say First of all, one of my favourites has to be Mario. I think Mario is such a cool character, such a relatable character. He's an everyman. He's just this random little plumber dude from Queens, from Brooklyn, whatever it is. And he's out there saving a kingdom, meeting a princess, saving the day. He's not some unrealistic body standard superhero chiseled, icon. He doesn't always get it right. He's clumsy, but his heart's in the right place, and he's always determined to save the day. I think that's a fantastic character. The second one for me would have to be Leon Kennedy. I am massively into the Resident Evil games. I haven't actually done an awful lot of Resident Evil streams, ironically enough, but I am huge into the Resident Evil games, and especially the original ones, more so than most of the remakes. I ain't a criticism of them, but they were the ones I played. The first Resident Evil game I played was Resident Evil 2, and there was the two characters in that, Claire and Leon. I absolutely loved them both, but my first ever playthrough was as Leon, and so he was literally my introduction into the Resident Evil games. The next game I played with him in was Resident Evil 4, which was such an amazing game. I really like the fact that Leon Kennedy he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's a rookie. He's not some super awesome police guy. He just turns up and this stuff's all going on. And yeah, I really quite like him. A lot of people give him a bit of grief, but I think he's awesome. And for my third one, I'm going to have to pick someone from a fighting game, and I was really tempted to go with Ken or Ryu, but I'm going to go with Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat. And there's some really interesting reasons why. First of all, he was my favourite character when I first started playing it. I just thought he was randomly cool. But what's interesting is that the Mortal Kombat game, the original one, was originally meant to be a Bloodsport tie-in. The movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme in. And when Jean-Claude Van Damme pulled out of being in that game, they decided to make a new game out of it. So they'd already made the model to look like Van Damme, and that was Johnny Cage. That's why his outfit is even the same as the outfit that Van Damme wears in the final fight in Bloodsport. So because he pulled out, they made his character this sort of arrogant, I'm too good for everyone Hollywood star. In a sense, his character began as a joke, and yet as the games went on, his character was one of the most beloved in it. They even killed him off briefly, but he was just so loved, they had to bring him back. He ended up getting the girl in Sonya Blade. He went on to have a daughter. It's just a brilliant story. The character that was made as a little bit of a joke and a reference is now one of the most iconic characters in it. And he was just as awesome in the films, and hopefully we'll see him in the follow-up to the remake. So, yeah. Now, antagonists. This one, a little bit different. I kind of feel, because a little while ago, I actually did a Mount Rushmore of gaming villains. So I kind of feel like I'd be cheating if I didn't use some of those. The first one I'm going to say is Umbrella. Resident Evil's big bad is not Wesker. It's not Tyrant or Nemesis. It's Umbrella. It's the entire corporation. And that's what I like about it. The idea that this villain isn't something you can beat. It's not something you can kill, no matter how many bullets you use. Because it's not one thing. It's an entity. It's a corporation. It's this greed that will do anything for power and money. And I think that's quite relatable, regardless of what your perspective on what is the bad guy in the world. The idea that the thing we struggle to overcome isn't just a person we can argue with or beat. It's something bigger than that. It's a societal thing or a cultural thing. And I think that's what makes Umbrella so genuinely terrifying. I think another one I would have to pick would be M. Bison. From Street Fighter 2 onwards, M. Bison he's a dictator. As a character, he is a dictator. But unlike most dictators that we see throughout history, he's not some weak, pathetic little person who's trying to overcompensate. He is individually powerful and dangerous, but on top of that has also built up this empire trying to control things. And I think he touches on a lot of those archetypes of true real world villains, but builds on that by being this powerful character. The amount of times you get to that fight and you see him stood there in his robe and you think, oh crap, I'm going to lose. M. Bison is a villain's villain. He is bad. There's no rationalizing. It's not like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. He's just a bad person, and a lot of fun to kick the crap out of when you're eventually able to. And I think one other, it's got to be Bowser, hasn't it? Really, we said Mario before. Bowser is the clear-cut gaming villain. He's just iconic for that. You could argue the ghosts from Pac-Man. I think they were also on the list I did. But it's Bowser. Come on, we've every gamer who's ever, we've all at some point beaten Bowser. It's simplistic. He's the big dragon with a shell that kidnaps the girl, that torments the little cute guys of the Mushroom Kingdom. Yeah, he's just iconic. Bowser is almost as iconic as Mario. I certainly would say outside of Mario, he's as iconic as any other gaming character out there. So, yeah, for me, it's Bowser. Now, that is the end of the question part of this podcast. But there is still something else I want to discuss, and that is what you can expect from saberduelgaming in 2025. Yeah, we're going to have a little sneak peek ahead at some of the things that you're going to see right here on this channel next year. Well, let's start with the basics. You are, of course, going to get plenty more retro reviews. Inevitably, I'm going to do a retro review of WWE 2K24. I always do that as sort of an annual one in the build-up to WrestleMania. But I've also ordered a few compilation games, as I say ordered, thrown on the Christmas list as potential games. One is a collection of Jurassic Park games, including classics from the Game Boy, the 16-bit consoles, etc. And another one is the Capcom versus Marvel games. So potentially you'll see some reviews of those games, as well as some of the other games that might be on compilations or packs or games I already have. So still plenty more of those retro reviews coming your way. Inevitably I will get 2K25, so you're going to see my GM mode or other versions of that game being done as live streams too. But 2K24 is not done yet. Before the end of the year, I'm going to start doing streams on the My Rise mode, so you will get to see that going from the end of this year into next year. But at the start of next year, there will also be a little bit of a collaboration on my GM mode. You see, for the first time ever, I will be doing my GM mode against another actual YouTuber. I'm going to be doing this against the Gaming Lord 04. Before the end of this year, we're actually going to do our draft picks to identify our roster, and then we're going to do a bunch of live streams across the start of next year where we do the pay-per-views of both of our brands competing against each other to see who can end up the most successful. As for how long we'll do that for, we haven't quite determined yet, because it will depend. Once 2K25 comes out, most people aren't that interested in 2K24. So we might call WrestleMania in real life the cutoff. Potentially you'll see a couple of pay-per-views streamed back to back. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But after that, if this is something that works quite well, we might do more of those next year. I guess we'll wait and see. Another thing I really enjoyed doing this year that I want to carry into next year is the Destiny 2 monthly challenges. Let's be honest, most of them were quite haphazard. I sort of made them up on the day and changed the rules as and when we went along. Sometimes other people joined, sometimes people didn't. So what I want to do is make sure that next year we do some of those monthly challenges anyway, but we make it much clearer in advance what the challenge is. And what I might actually do next year is make posts so that people can actually vote on what the challenge will be. Some of them are going to be a little bit more fluid in that they might be a Halloween event going on, and so the challenge is going to have to shift and change around whatever the Halloween gameplay is. But other than that, we're going to try and make it a bit more interactive and a bit more clear-cut what I need to do to pass or fail. So we'll see how that goes too. And the other big news is that, yes, I am looking to bring back the Dueling Sabers quiz. Initially, I was going to try and make it bigger next year, make it longer. But the problem with that is it pretty much becomes the only content I have time to make. Those Dueling Saber quiz videos, despite looking very basic, as I'm sure they did, took a lot of work. Every single screen took ages to type out every message, every question, every answer. So I'm going to stick with just 4 contestants again, but there is going to be a little bit of a shift for those that have paid attention to them will already know. That is that Raza is Retro was relegated from it in finishing in 4th, but he will be back, because what we're actually going to do is the relegation revenge round. So there's going to be a round for each person where he has created a bunch of questions. Now, in case anyone thinks shenanigans might ensue, I'm going to make it very clear. He will make the questions not knowing who the actual contestants will be for each one. So he's probably going to pick very difficult ones just to have a dig at everybody else. But that's part of the fun. So we will see Dueling Sabers quiz back in a slightly new presented format, and more importantly, we're looking to get at least 1 new contestant on to replace Raza. As for who that will be, guess we'll just have to wait and see. All the current games I'm playing on live to play through will continue into the new year, but we will of course have some new ones coming along as well. We've recently finished GTA Vice City and started GTA San Andreas, so that one will definitely continue into the new year. I might not play a lot of that in the build up to Christmas because it's not a particularly Christmassy game, let's be honest, but that one will definitely flow through into the new year, and I am considering doing a bit of a playthrough on GTA 5 as well. One thing that is certain is whenever GTA 6 comes out, we will play that. Although at this rate, that's going to be in about 2037. I will also be continuing all the different things I do. So there will definitely be videos getting posted, there will be shorts, and there'll be live streams. I might try and strike up a little bit more of a routine, give it a bit more balance, so there's a set amount of shorts, a set amount of lives, and a set amount of videos every week. It's hard to do because I can't do an exact schedule. I really think this is a great idea when people can do this. I know recently I've seen people like the Gaming Lord 04 and Gamer Girl Resi and lots of others trying to stick to a nice schedule, playing certain games. I just can't do that because of what I do for work and other non-work and non-YouTube commitments. So I do tend to have to do the lives as and when I'm able, but I will try and stick to a set number of them. If I can't do them, I can't do them, but I'll give it my best shot. However, vids and shorts, I am going to try and do a set amount and make sure that they're out there at roughly the same times and days. I have got quite a wide range of subscribers. There's people that just watch lives, people that only watch shorts, a lot of people that only watch shorts, and people that mainly focus on the videos. And very few people actually go across all of them. So I need to try and make sure I put out content that everyone values and everyone enjoys as much as possible, while still allowing the channel to continue to grow. Not in any particular rate. I'm not looking for a massive rate of subscriber additions or anything along those lines, but just as long as it's all heading in the right direction. So the general plan for next year, just to be saberduelgaming, as we have been all along, to continue putting out stuff that hopefully people like. Oh, and of course, we will absolutely be doing YouTube Mania again next year. The theme of that one, I'll be honest, I haven't really decided. This year we did the Bloodline Rules theme, which was pretty fun, I'll be honest. I was very tempted to do an Extreme Rules theme because this year's game had so many ECW veterans in it. However, by the time we get to the next one, there's a very good chance we might be using WWE 2K25. So it would depend on what that game looks like. But who knows, maybe what we'll do is throw out a few themes for people to vote on. And by the way, because I know I do the Halloween Havoc and YouTube Mania almost like a pay-per-view format stream with set matches. If people would like to see more of those with the wrestlers actually defending a Saber Duel Gaming style title like they are with the YouTube Mania titles, and yes, I am thinking of changing those names so it's Saber Duel Gaming Wrestling Champions. If you'd like to see more of those across the year, let me know. We can try and make some more of them. Sometimes have special guests in, sometimes have special guest commentators. So, yeah, keep me posted on what you want as well. The one other thing I am definitely considering is adding a podcast similar to this, which focuses on professional wrestling. I'm a huge wrestling fan. Lots of my content is wrestling themed. And I did actually consider making a pro wrestling channel. You may already know that I've got a Saber Duel Bricks as a Lego channel on TikTok. And that's all I post there is Lego. And of course, Saber Duel Gaming is my primary thing. But I did consider making Saber Duel Wrestling as a channel somewhere. But it just never felt quite right. I never felt like I wanted to divert my focus from Saber Duel Gaming that much. So instead, what I've decided to do is make a monthly pro wrestling podcast. I might just talk about the pay-per-views, the shows, or I might focus on a specific incident from history and just talk about that. I might have guests on it. I might just do it just for me, but it would work similar to this and we'll just see how it goes. But don't worry, it won't take over Saber Duel Gaming. This is very much the gaming channel. I just happen to have a lot of love for wrestling, and otherwise, let's be honest, I'm going to end up talking about it somewhere. So, with that all said, this is going to be the last RetroSaber podcast for 2024. I very much hope that everyone who has joined me for any of these has a fantastic holiday season, has a fantastic Christmas, has a fantastic New Year. Whatever you celebrate, I hope you have a lot of fun and most importantly, stay safe and healthy. I definitely hope to see most of you, if not all of you, and hopefully many more people on this channel next year, as well as hopefully getting to see what you do on your own channels. Have a fantastic year and I'll see you in 2025. Oh, and of course, take the high ground.